You remember when we were chatting with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he was telling Republicans that, man, oh, man, if you cannot sell this tax cut, you've got problems. Take a look.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hard sell at all.
Well, apparently it is, right? Because it's still not polling well. It's better than it did initially, but under half Americans have polled, I still think it's a mistake. How does that make you feel?
We're having this discussion with the American people, but in the end, I think, particularly on the Senate side in states like Montana, North Dakota, Missouri, Indiana, West Virginia, where we have competitive races, I think it's a pretty good argument to make that you know, we allowed you to keep more of your hard-earned money than sending it to Washington.
And maybe that will be the argument that wins out. There's a move afoot right now for Republicans to make the individual tax cuts permanent. They are not right now in order to get this through with some of the parliamentary idiosyncrasies of the Senate that are way beyond my comprehension. They were able to make the corporate ones permanent, not so the individual ones. Here to weigh in on whether that's possible is South Dakota Republican Senator John Thune. Senator, always good seeing you.
Nice to see you, Neil.
What about that and making these permanent? I understand, and I don't know if this is the real case, that Mitch McConnell is a little leery of doing that right now, in that it might help some Democratic senators who voted against the first tax cut to vote for this and actually help their prospects in the Senate. I think that was the gist of it. How do you feel about that?
Well, look, it's just not a question of if, Neil. It's a question of when. And, you know, we have some time. These individual tax cuts don't expire for about 8 years. So we'll have opportunities to do that. I think what the leader is suggesting is that, obviously, when we do it, we want to make sure that there are 60 votes for it in the United States Senate. The Democrats are going to deliver enough votes in order for it to pass, and not give us enough votes to be just short of passing, but give some of their more vulnerable members an opportunity to try and get well when they voted against the tax cuts last fall. So, you know, it's going to get done eventually. The question is when, not if. And I think that'll be an issue ultimately that'll be decided by our leader in consultation with our members, and hopefully enough Democrats to get us to 60 votes.
You know, when I was in your fine city a couple of days ago, Senator, I got a sense from some of your Republican colleagues in the House that they either don't understand you, not you specifically, but the Senate, period, and what they consider to be resistance on the part of Mitch McConnell and others, and maybe it's the process, the way it works, and they're frustrated. They feel that they're making great inroads, but they're stymied, and that the Senate and the way it works, the whole filibuster thing, stops progress and will kill Republicans. What do you say?
Well, it's an age-old view in the House. I was a member of the House for 3 terms, and when I was a member of the House, we thought the Senate was killing all our good bills, and you know, obviously the Senate works and functions very differently than the House. It takes 60 votes to do anything, which means we have to have a certain number of Democrats vote with us. And, of course, the rules of the Senate allow one individual to drag out debate almost indefinitely if they want to. So, you know,
we have trouble, though, Senator, what they're saying to man or woman is that you have this great achievement, the tax cuts, whether people consider great achievement or not. It was a landmark move. And they're troubled by the fact that Americans aren't more impressed with what you did. Maybe that's because some are not getting as much, or the way it's been portrayed is disproportionately in companies' hands and the rich's hands. You've heard that. But what is going on here? Are you surprised that there isn't more follow-through and positive sentiment? And maybe it's just the polls, and they could be wrong. They were wrong in 2016. But are you worried?
Well, I'm not worried, because I know that when people vote, they vote on pocketbook issues. They vote on the economy. They vote on am I better off today than I was 2 years ago or 4 years ago? And they're going to have more money in their paychecks. And there are 500 companies who, as a result of the tax cuts, have already announced bonuses, pay increases, benefit increases. Those are all things that are going to benefit individual workers in the long run, in addition to what I think will happen as a second wave, and that is expansion by businesses, which will create better paying jobs and raise wages. And if you look at the economy right now, Neil, and you alluded to it earlier, there's some really good things going on out there, and a lot of it has to do with policies that are pro-growth. It's tax cuts and tax reform. It's regulatory reform. A lot of the changes that this president, working with this Congress, have done is leading us to a point now where we've got that robust growth, and we're starting to see jobs come back and wages come back, and I think that's only going to continue. So, sure, I mean, people maybe at the moment haven't realized the full effect of the of the tax cuts, or perhaps even realize, if they're not paying close attention to their payroll withholding, that they're benefiting in the way that they are. But if you look at the $73,000 family of four annual income, they're going to get a $2,000 tax cut. If you're a single parent with one child at $41,000, you're going to get a $1,300 tax cut. That's immediate dollars into your pocket. You get to keep more of your hard-earned money, but secondly, you get a bigger expanding economy.
The reason why I ask is that a lot of people now don't get pay stubs per se. Their checks automatically deposited.
Right.
Are they aware of it, or is it your consternation that maybe they are and they don't really feel that impressed by it, or what?
No, I think part of it is it's a combination of all of the above. But I do think that once they, when they start thinking about who they're going to vote for in November in 2018, again, it always comes back to, if you look at how people vote historically in this country, it's pocketbook issues, it's kitchen table issues, it's whether or not I'm better off economically than I was a few years ago in the last election. And I think in this case, you're going to have people who are realizing, I got more money in my pocket, the economy is growing and expanding at a faster rate, there are more job opportunities available to me out there, and higher wages. And I ultimately think, again, sometimes it takes a while for these big reforms, and this is a pretty significant change in tax policy, to work its way through the economy in a way that people really see the benefit from it. But that's going to happen, and it'll happen, I think, too, before the November election.
You hope. You hope it does, right?
Yes, indeed, I do.
All right, Senator Thune, thank you very much. Sure, good seeing you again.
Likewise. Thanks, Neil.